It was just a few months ago, but honestly, it still stings. My sister, Celeste, completely lost it because I wouldn't co-sign a loan for her. She started yelling, going on and on about how I owed her everything. How I owed her my life. But then, my husband, bless his heart, stepped in and said something that made her just completely crumble. I'm Elena, and I'm 40. I wasn't even sure I wanted to talk about this, but it's been playing on repeat in my mind, and I gotta get it out there. This whole thing is a big tangled mess of family obligations and me always being the responsible one, you know? Things were always kinda tricky growing up. As the older sister, I was the one who always tried to fix things, the babysitter, the one who was supposed to know better. Celeste, she's 37, and she was basically the princess in my parents' eyes. Or maybe more like a delicate little thing they thought would fall apart if anyone looked at her the wrong way. She was always the dramatic one, the dreamer, always in some kind of trouble. And I was just, the quiet one, doing the dishes while Mom was rushing out to bail Celeste out of whatever she'd gotten herself into this time. Honestly, I'm not even kidding when I say it felt like if Celeste lit the house on fire, Mom would have blamed me for giving her the matches. But despite all of that, I tried. I always did. I helped Celeste study. She dropped out of college after just one semester. I let her stay at my place when she got evicted twice. I even lent her a few grand when her fancy tea shop went belly up, and I knew in my heart that money was gone the second I gave it to her. So, I'm married now to Ronan. He's 43 and he's great. He's totally solid, and I try to be the same. We both work full-time, no kids, but we're careful with money. We live pretty simply and stick to a budget. We're not rolling in dough or anything. We've just been smart about it. This whole thing, this whole situation, started when Celeste showed up at our door with her usual drama. I'm talking tears already welling up, her mascara smeared, and a beat-up manila envelope clutched in her hand. I should have known. Elena, I need a massive favor, she said, throwing herself on my couch like a dying plant. Ronan was in the kitchen, acting like he couldn't hear. He's seen it all before. I got approved for a small business loan, she began, eyes huge like I should start cheering. They just need a co-signer. No, how are you? No, can I sit? Just straight to the ask. I was silent for a second, just long enough for her to launch into her big plan. Apparently, she wanted to start a mobile nail salon. She had it all mapped out. A vintage camper, fancy pedicure chairs, eco-friendly nail polish, and a custom playlist for her customers. And then came the phrase I've heard a million times. This is my big break, Elena. I just need someone to believe in me. I sighed. I didn't want to be the bad guy. I never do. But I learned the hard way that believing in Celeste usually comes with a cost. Celeste, I can't co-sign a loan for you. The room went dead silent. Her face just crumpled like I'd just punched her. What? I'm so sorry, I really am, but I just can't do it. It's too risky. She exploded like someone flicked a lighter under her. Can't or won't, she yelled. Because it sounds an awful lot like won't, Elena. And that's a real kick in the teeth, considering everything I've done for you. I blinked, completely taken aback. Everything? What are you talking about? I've always been there for you. She was crying, her arms waving all over the place, like she was acting out one of those crazy family dramas. Who held this family together when you got dumped by that jerk in college? Who stayed up all night with you? I gave you so much. And now when I need just one little thing, you won't help me? I had to grit my teeth to stop myself from laughing. It wasn't funny, it was just shocking. Ronan came into the room then, leaning against the doorway with his arms crossed. You could see he was trying to stay calm. I'm not trying to be mean, I said, but you're asking me to risk our credit, our whole financial situation, on something so unstable. This isn't personal, it's just smart. Celeste's eyes got real tiny. Of course it's personal. Everything with you is always personal. You think you're so much better than me now that you married some guy with a good job and a fancy house. You think you're too good for your own family. Ronan finally spoke, quiet and steady. Celeste, he said, do you even realize what you're saying? She spun around to face him. Oh, here we go, she said. Let me guess. You've been filling her head with crap about me since the wedding, haven't you? So he comes up to me, looks me dead in the eyes, and says this thing that just, I swear, my legs went weak. Celeste's face was already red. I was breathing hard even before he spoke. But the second Ronan moved, everything changed. It wasn't a big, noisy thing, It was quiet, really quiet. He just looked at me, not angry, not even sorry for me, just this quiet sadness like he was about to drop a bomb. Celeste, he said real calm, You keep saying Elena owes you, that she's letting you down. But that's not the whole story. You don't even have a clue what she's sacrificed for you. I blinked. What does that even mean? I asked, my voice cracking. It always does when I'm about to go all dramatic, but Ronan didn't let me. You think this is about money, he went on, but it's not. You've lived your whole life expecting Elena to clean up your messes, to pick up the pieces if you fall. And she has, again and again, but you never once thought about what that cost her. I just stared. For once, I didn't have a comeback. He didn't yell. He didn't blame me. That's what made it hit so hard, you know? And then my knees just gave out. It wasn't a faint or anything, but I sort of slumped back onto the couch, like my legs couldn't carry the weight of what he'd just said. The silence after that was thick. The fridge hummed softly, that old clock on the wall ticking away. I stood there, speechless. I never saw that coming. Honestly, I didn't even know how much I needed someone to finally acknowledge it, to say it out loud. Celeste sat there, hands clenched tight in her lap, her eyes all shiny. Not exactly crying, but like all the fight had just drained out of her. She didn't say a word for a whole minute. Then, real quiet, she asked, "What do you mean? What did you give up?" Ronan looked at me, like he was making sure I was okay, like he'd said his part and didn't want to step on my toes. I took a deep breath, this huge lump forming in my throat, something I'd kept bottled up for way too long. "Remember when I wanted to study abroad?" I asked, my voice way quieter than I thought it would be. She nodded slowly. "College? Yeah, Scotland, right?" "I got accepted," I said. Everything was set. Scholarships, grants, the whole 9 yards. Then Mom called one night, freaking out. "You totaled her car, no insurance." She said if they didn't fix it, Dad would lose his job, said you were just a kid and it wasn't fair to punish you. So I dropped out of the program, gave them back my tuition money, told them I'd changed my mind. Her eyes got really big, her mouth fell open a little. "You never told me that." "I wasn't supposed to," I said. "Mom said it would just make you feel bad, and I didn't want to make you feel guilty. I thought maybe you were just going through a tough time, and it wouldn't happen again." I kind of chuckled, not with any anger, just worn out. But it never stopped. Whenever something went wrong, I was the one you called. You jumped from one job to the next, one guy to another, and I was always the one who caught you when you fell because no one else would. Celeste just kept quiet. Her hands were trembling, messing with the edge of her sleeve. Her mouth opened a few times like she wanted to say something, but nothing came out. I didn't want to make things worse. I wasn't trying to hurt her, but I also couldn't keep acting like everything was okay. "Remember when I had to take that job at the hospital downtown?" I asked her. "The one that was on nights and an hour away?" She slowly nodded. "You said it paid more?" "It did, but I didn't want it. I was always so tired. I hated the drive. I missed Ronan's birthday that year, but I took it because Mom said you needed help with Rin again, and I was just too worn down to say no anymore." Ronan softly reached for my hand. I didn't even realize I was crying until I felt his hand on mine. Celeste just sat there for a second, still. It looked like she was going to say sorry, but then something changed in her eyes. Maybe shame, or maybe just plain stubbornness, and her jaw tightened up. "I didn't ask you to do all that," she mumbled. I nodded. "You're right, you didn't. Yet you didn't stop anyone else from asking you to do it." Suddenly, the whole room went chilly. Not in a physical way, but it felt like we were totally exposed, like someone had thrown open a window we never wanted to look through. Celeste brushed at her face and stood up. She seemed shaky, like she wasn't sure where to even put herself. She started walking toward the kitchen, stopped halfway, and then turned back around. I thought family was supposed to be there for each other. I looked right at her. "We are. But being there doesn't mean you have to get lost for someone who won't stick around long enough to even say thanks." And then, just like that, she turned and walked out, right out the door. But that wasn't the last of it. Not even close. Because 2 days later, Mom called and had a few things to say about loyalty and shame and how I had stabbed the family in the back. A couple of days after Celeste left, I was cleaning up after dinner when my phone rang. Mom's name popped up on the screen, and I just froze. Ronan looked up from the sink, saw my expression, and instantly turned off the water. "You don't have to answer it," he said softly. But I did. Or at least I felt like I had to, because that's how it always went with my mom. Ignoring a call wasn't just rude, it was disrespectful. It felt like a personal attack, like a declaration of war. I picked up, bracing myself for whatever was coming. "Hello?" There wasn't even a "hey honey" or "how are you?" There were no pleasantries, just her sharp intake of breath, followed by, "I can't believe what I just heard." I closed my eyes for a split second. "Hi, Mom." Don't you, Mom, it's me. Celeste just showed up here bawling. She said you kicked her out. Said Ronan made her look bad. Naturally, Celeste only gave her side, playing the victim as usual. But she wasn't really kicked out, Mom. She left because she didn't like what you were saying. You told her she was a problem, that she's self-absorbed and messed up your life. I was stunned. That's not what you actually said, but you did, Elena. With the way you acted, your frigid voice, and by just flat out refusing to help your own sister. She came to you needing help, and you just turned her away like a stranger. I sat down at the kitchen table, rubbing my head. Mom, she wanted me to co-sign a loan. That's a huge ask. It would put our entire financial security at risk. She rolled her eyes. Oh, come on. Ronan makes good money. Don't act like we'd be broke or something. And there it was again, that total disregard for my limits, my own life. For her, Ronan's paycheck was just a way to get what she wants. My marriage, my plans, my budget, none of that even mattered. We're not rich, I said firmly. We've worked hard for what we have, and we're not going to jeopardize it over one of Celeste's pipe dreams that she'll bail on when things get tough. That's when she went from angry to ice cold. Well, I see you think you're too good for the rest of us now, living in your fancy house with your perfect husband looking down on everyone. You know, I always figured you'd bail on us just like your dad. Man, that one really stung. Because my own dad, he really did take off when I was 15. One night he just grabbed a bag and that was it. Mom's story, it never changed. He'd given up on us, just walked away because we weren't good enough. I spent so long hating him, feeling like I had to be the exact opposite. Someone loyal, always there, no matter what it took. But now, I didn't know anymore. I'm not running out on anyone, I mumbled, trying to keep it together. I just can't keep carrying everything on my shoulders. There was quiet on the phone. Then Mom said, Celeste told me something last night. She said you made her feel worthless, that you looked at her like she was nothing. I didn't say that, I told her, trying to stay cool. But she's not a kid anymore, Mom. She's 37 and she still acts like the world owes her everything. Like I owe her. You do, she shot back. After everything she's been through, what has she been through? I cut in, louder than I planned. Seriously, what? Bad relationships, businesses that crashed and burned, all her choices. And somehow, I'm the one who always ends up paying the price. Why is that, Mom? More silence, thick with tension. Then she said, because you can handle it. Just like that, so casual. I actually laughed, not because it was funny, but because it just came out. Right, I said, because I'm the strong one. It's okay if I'm a wreck, you know. It's fine if I ditch everything I wanted, my cash, my time, my sanity. 'Cause I won't break. That's the deal, right? Don't put words in my mouth, she mumbled, but her voice wasn't as harsh anymore. I just kept quiet. I guess I was hoping she'd take it back, maybe soften the blow. But nope. Instead, she finished the call with something that probably should have gutted me. I'm let down, Elena, you're not the same. And then, click. I just sat there forever, staring at the table, the phone still in my hand. Ronan came over and sat next to me. Didn't say a word, just put his arm around me and let me be. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. But something inside me just shifted, not in a good way, more like how dust settles after everything blows up. The next morning, after that call with my mom, I was nursing a coffee at the kitchen island, still feeling wrecked, when an email popped up from HR at work. Subject line, follow up on recent inquiry. I work in healthcare admin, nothing fancy but steady. I've been at the same hospital for 8 years, worked my way up, built trust. It's not the kind of job you brag about, but it's mine, and I put in the effort. So, when I opened that email and saw that someone had anonymously accused me of using patient info to help my family with insurance, my stomach just dropped. The email was all official sounding, but the meaning was clear. HIPAA violations are no joke. You can get in deep, serious trouble if you mess around with patient privacy, right? I mean, serious legal issues. Or, at the very least, lose your job. I read the email and then I reread it, just to make sure I wasn't missing anything. There were no dates, no names, nothing concrete, just the accusation and some jabber about favoritism and whether I was looking at files I shouldn't be. Ronan saw my face and came right over. "What's up?" he asked, getting down next to me. I showed him. He took his time reading it. Then he goes, "You think this is Celeste." Honestly, at first, I didn't know what to think. I wanted to believe it was all just some mistake, maybe even a bitter patient, but the way it was written, it was way too specific to my life. Familial favoritism, that's not something a random person would know about. Celeste didn't have any clue what I actually did at work, but she did know I dealt with insurance stuff and could see into all the hospital billing records. That was enough info for her to cook up a story if she wanted to. I figured she thought if she couldn't get what she wanted from me, she'd try to mess with me, to undermine me, jeopardize my job, try to hit me where it would hurt the most. The next week was brutal. I was under the microscope. HR called me in. I brought every log, every single report, every piece of paperwork I had, just to show I never messed with anything outside of my regular tasks. And the documentation totally proved my side. My boss, she's known me forever, was steaming mad for me. "Don't sweat it," she said, trying to calm me down. "We've dealt with this kind of crap before. Someone's just trying to stir things up, but you're squeaky clean." Even so, it really shook me up. Because if Celeste was willing to go to that length, what else would she do? And that's when it hit me. Something I hadn't thought about in ages. My dad's college savings account. He didn't have much to give, but he tried. It had been untouched for years because Mom swore it was off limits and that she'd shut it down after he left. I never questioned it back then. I believed her. But that week, with all the craziness Celeste caused, I finally decided to check it out. This little voice kept nagging at me, saying, "Look into it, you gotta know." So I called the credit union, went through that whole painful ID verification thing, and then the woman on the phone said something that just froze me. She said, "Oh, that account was closed 6 years ago. Looks like it was withdrawn in person by Celeste M." I didn't even hear the rest. I was just sitting there, white-knuckling the counter, my knuckles killing me. That money, what little there was, maybe a couple of $1,000, was supposed to be mine. My dad gave it to me. It was for my future. And she stole it. 6 years ago. So, around the time she started whining about needing cash to get back on her feet after that whole business thing blew up, I went to Mom for help. I was juggling night classes to finish my degree, and we were already scraping by. Mom said Dad's money, gone. Celeste took it all, and nobody ever batted an eye. That's when something inside me just snapped. It wasn't just anger, you know? It was this sudden, brutal understanding. Like finally seeing the truth after years of pretending everything was okay. I wasn't going to lose my cool. No screaming, no tears. I was done playing nice. If Celeste wanted to play dirty, fine, but she'd forgotten one thing. I knew her secrets too. She'd left a whole mess of stuff wide open, figuring I'd never look. So I started planning, not some crazy, over-the-top revenge plan. Nope. I went low-key, strategic. I started collecting everything. Emails, texts, a whole spreadsheet of every single loan I'd ever given her. Venmo receipts, screenshots, the works. Even that fake GoFundMe she set up under a different name for emergency dental surgery, which totally never happened. I still had the post she deleted after people started asking for proof. I stumbled onto something else too, because Celeste had just started doing this gig as a freelance business consultant. Basically, as far as I could see, she was getting people to pay her for iffy advice and these so-called investment deals that were totally bogus. And one of those people was Fallon, a friend from high school. She messaged me after seeing something I'd posted privately, asking, "Hey, is your sister on the up and up? She's been bugging me to invest in some crypto thing she claims you okayed." I hadn't vouched for anything. I asked Fallon to send me the messages. She did, and that's when I knew I had all the ammunition I needed. I wasn't planning on taking Celeste down. I was going to let her dig her own hole. My job was just to make sure she didn't drag anyone else down with her. But first, I had to confront her face to face. And the perfect chance was already set. Mom's birthday dinner was at her place. The same house Celeste and I grew up in. Same messed up chandelier in the dining room. Same water-stained wallpaper she'd always talked about replacing but never actually did. There were 8 of us. Mom, her boyfriend Dan, a quiet guy who kept to himself. Celeste, me, Ronan, and some other relatives. From the second we walked in, I could feel Celeste's eyes on me. She gave Ronan her usual fake sweet greeting but didn't say much to me, just a tight-lipped smile and a look that said, "I'm watching you." Fine, let her. Dinner was pot roast, those sad, soggy green beans, and a whole lot of tension hanging in the air. Mom was practically bouncing, probably because Celeste had been whispering in her ear all week, twisting everything around. I played along, kept my cool, even passed the rolls just trying to keep the peace. But after dessert, when everyone was all relaxed and comfy, I knew it was my time. I reached in my bag, pulled out this thin file, and plopped it down on the table. "Before we finish up," I said, "there's something I need to clear up, and I want to do it right here, right now, so we can all be on the same page." The room went totally silent. Mom looked completely puzzled, Celeste's whole body tightened up. "What's that?" she snapped. I looked her straight in the eye. "It's a timeline," I said, "with receipts, bank statements, texts, the whole shebang." Celeste let out this little fake laugh. "Oh, come on, are we really doing this now?" "Yes," I said, keeping my voice steady, "because I've let things go for way too long. I've watched you mess with people, lie about money, and steal things that weren't yours, including that savings account Dad set up for me. You told Mom you had no idea what happened to it, but you closed it 6 years ago. I checked with the credit union myself." Mom's eyes went wide. "Wait, what?" Celeste's smile disappeared. "And you tried to get me fired? That anonymous complaint? HR traced the IP address. Guess who it belonged to?" Mom was staring back and forth between us, totally lost. What in the world is she talking about? Celeste started to deny it, but Ronan cut her off. "You did it," he said, his voice firm. "You crossed a line," Celeste snapped, her voice getting icy. "You went after Alina's job. You put her whole career in jeopardy because she wouldn't sign something you couldn't pay for." I could feel the anger radiating off her. "You think you're better than me because you married someone who makes a decent living? You two are playing house while the rest of us are just trying to survive." "That's not what this is about," I tried to explain. "This is about you being responsible for your own actions. You've been taking from me for years, Celeste. My time, my money, my energy, my trust. And every single time, you turn it around so I look like the bad guy for finally saying enough is enough." "I needed help," she shot back. "I've always needed help." "No," I replied, my voice firm. "You needed consequences, and now you're getting them." I turned to my mom. "I'm not asking you to choose sides. I'm just telling you that I'm done. I'm not co-signing any loans. I'm not covering for her anymore. And if either of you tries something like this again, I'm going to talk to a lawyer." Celeste let out a laugh, but it sounded shaky this time. "You're not serious." That's when Ronan leaned in, looked her right in the eye, and said the thing that finally cut through her act. "You keep saying Alina owes you everything, but the truth is, you've bled her dry, and now she's done letting you use her." Celeste's mouth just hung open for a second, then snapped shut. Her face went red. She looked like she wanted to scream, cry, and bolt all at once. Instead, she just sat there, her eyes all watery, staring down at her plate like it had betrayed her. And then the tears started flowing. Man, the tears just poured out. No yelling, no drama, just me shaking and crying silently. Everyone at the table was just frozen, speechless. Nobody even tried to hug me or anything, not even Mom. For once, it felt like nobody was trying to fix things for me. No one came running to save me from the mess I'd made. After a long, awkward silence, Mom finally cleared her throat and said, "I think we're done with dinner." We got out of there pretty quickly after that. A few days later, Celeste cut me off, completely blocked me on everything. Honestly, it was probably the best thing she ever did for herself. We haven't talked since, but I heard she moved back in with an old college buddy. Apparently, that didn't last long either. They split up after a couple of months. Mom hasn't said sorry, but things are way calmer now. She stopped dumping all of Celeste's drama on me, and I don't feel like I owe her any explanations anymore. I kept my job. My record's clean, and HR even put something in my file to protect me, just in case. Ronan's been amazing through all this, my absolute rock. And the best part? I used all the money I was saving to help Celeste to finish my degree instead. Ronan and I celebrated with takeout and wine, just the two of us. I didn't invite anyone else because, for once, I didn't feel bad about choosing my own peace after everything. I keep thinking, was I a jerk? I mean, I had my reasons, and I'm not sorry for sticking up for myself. But looking back, I wonder if there was a better way to handle it. Look, Celeste was a handful, no doubt about it. But honestly, could I have done things differently? Maybe I should have tried to work things out with her, even after all the crazy games she played. I'm still kicking myself over it. Was I a jerk for just cutting her out of my life? What would you have done in my shoes? Would you have handled it the same way or tried a different approach?